I'm Scott McMahon. I'm the director of Dynamic Live Events.
Okay. So, what happened before lockdown for you?
Before lockdown, we were probably having what looked like the busiest year that we'd had since we've opened up 5 years ago. Everything was just running hunky dory as it normally would, and yeah, the everything was just normal. I think our biggest problem was having enough crew to do the jobs, basically. Yeah.
Okay. So, how was your social life before lockdown?
So social life is pretty much non-existent when you're married with small children. Maybe the odd curry night with the boys, but basically your social life is really what you're doing. With work. Work is your life really when you run your own business. It's like that is your social life really.
And what did your daily work consist of?
Well, so daily work would consist of coming in, probably starting off with quotations that were sent in the evening, replying to those, chasing up jobs, sorting out crew for jobs, taking phone calls, and going out, setting up jobs, and bringing back jobs. Basically, that would be it, really.
So the COVID-19 was, posted up on the news. Did you know anything about it before lockdown?
Well, it's it's a funny one because we started employing a boy who's from Greece a few months prior, and he worked for a sound company back in Greece. And this company they pretty much toured Europe as far as I know, like doing festivals, carnivals, etc. And so when he was going into work, he kept telling me these stories about his ex boss losing lots of work, and I was like, "All right, okay." And then he would come in, and the stories just kept getting worse and worse. One minute it was like he'd lost, like a big, massive contract job. The next minute, his whole season's gone. So that was a kind of heads up on it. And then I work with we partnered up with a company who are based in Spain, and they were talking to us via email and mentioning, some ripples over in Spain, and so yeah, we had a wee bit of a heads up on it. The Spanish didn't think that really the British government were taking it very seriously, and they were in lockdown, before we knew it, really.
Okay. So, what happened at lockdown?
So at lockdown, well, we still had jobs out that week. Obviously, I had a wee bit of a heads up with regards to what was happening in Spain and Greece. So I went and spoke to my landlord and I said, "Do you have any ideas what's happening here? Do you have any, like inclination of, will you be staying open?" I mean, the thoughts were was really this is kind of Armageddon on the way, but the landlord didn't really know any any ideas either. So we continued working, and I was out doing a job in Paisley, and I got a phone call from a client who was like, "Look, the football's cancelled this weekend, so we're no longer going to need a big screen, for the football match." And I was like, "What do you mean it's cancelled?" It's like, "Oh yeah, that's been cancelled." I was like, "But it's the Old Firm, who cancels the Old Firm?" So that's when, believe it or not, that's when I actually began to take it more seriously, here. And then I came back here, and by the time I got from Paisley back to Glasgow, it was just constant emails, phone calls, cancellation after cancellation after cancellation. I couldn't even tell you how many there was. I lost count of it. It was just unreal, basically.
Okay. So, as lockdown started, how did that affect your social life?
Well, really, it was strange. I mean, we obviously get kids at school, and they obviously the schools were closed down, so we had to, and we were locked down. We were in the house, so we couldn't obviously. We were told not to take them anywhere, etc. We weren't allowed to take them into the park or anything like that. We weren't allowed to. Well, we were allowed to take them into the park, but they couldn't go and play in the swings. So it's really, really strange. Couldn't visit anyone. Couldn't visit, any colleagues. Couldn't visit family members. Couldn't visit even my own mother. Um, so it was non-existent, really, non-existent social life, you know, for a good few months. Yeah.
And how did your work life change?
So work life changed. So we made the decision once the lockdown was coming up to move everything out into storage, and I opened up just like a small office to keep me going. So what I done was basically I tried to keep some kind of stability, you know, like some kind of I don't know, you know, like normally on a Friday I would come home from work and my kids would be waiting and they'd be like, oh, pocket money, and we'd have a wee kind of Friday evening, you know, popcorn and a movie, those kind of things. So I still went in to this office because I could walk there on a Friday, and I would just kind of, you know, mess about with the lighting desk or the sound desk and those kind of things. But well, like there was no work, so yeah, that it was kind of non-existent, you know, apart from basically just tidying things up, doing some pat testing, you know, checking out bits and bobs, filing some paperwork. Yeah, so that was essentially all you could really do. But there was no jobs coming in.
So after lockdown, what happened?
Well, after they began the kind of opening of phase, was it phase one and then phase two? I mean, they were kind of a few weeks apart, weren't they? I started receiving phone calls from clients interested in having private parties, garden parties, and it started off, you know, like it was just like one or two calls, etc. And I was obviously jumped for joy. I was like, right, okay, here we go. I'm going to start getting working. During the time of lockdown, we got a wee bit of help, you know, funding wise, etc. What wasn't massive, you know, but it was kind of, you know, it was pretty helpful, that along with the furlough. So I kind of kept that money to the side, and I just contacted back my landlord here, and I said, look, we need to come back because I think we're going to start picking up again. I started becoming a bit confident, you know, like we'll start to get some jobs in again. Strange, you know, you just get like one or two phone calls and all of a sudden you start getting excited again. So so we started getting jobs back in towards like July time, and then it started getting pretty busy with private events again. Nothing corporate wise, but you know, we started picking up more jobs again.
So progressing on from I think, was it phase 3 or something we're into now? What's been happening recently?
Well, right up until a couple of weeks ago in September, we were quite busy, fully booked every week again, and for private events, private parties, and you know, like things were looking okay. Things were getting back to kind of normal. Had all the guys all back. It's giving people work again. So I was getting pretty confident that they were just going to gradually open up more, and we would start getting back more corporate events eventually, and you know, weddings. I was expecting the wedding market to kind of open up a bit. So yeah, I was getting more and more confident about what was going to happen, and then they turned around with a 6-person rule. It was as if they just kind of pulled out a hat, you know, like this is it, 6 people, you know, like this. I think basically because they confused everybody, having so many different rules, that they just picked a number out of a hat and went, right, okay, we'll go for 6-person. And as soon as the 6-person rule came in, it was like it was back to March again in my head, you know. Everything cancelled again. It was like deja vu, everything gone again. Guys all laid off again. Girl settled in the office, laid off again. Yeah, that's it. So we're back to kind of square one, really.
Okay, and what about the social aspect of that? Has that got any better, or?
Well, you could obviously begin to take your kids to the park and let them play on the swings, etc. I haven't actually visited any of my good close friends apart from colleagues, you know, work friends. Obviously, I can visit my parents' house, but yeah, that, you know, that'd been okay. Obviously, with the 6-person rule came in, then you're obviously not allowed to do those things anymore. So social life will be back to the way it was. I mean, I'm quite lucky because I'm obviously kind of married and I've got young kids, and you know, it's quite an active household. I do feel for the people who are, you know, maybe not kind of got like, you know, as many people surrounding them, you know, that they can go and see every day. So yes, so social life obviously, yeah, it's going to be back to the way it was again, you know, from March, I suppose. Mm.
And what can you see happening in the future? What would even help you out as you progress on through this?
There's only one thing it can help any of us out in this industry, and that's for them to open up, to start letting people socialise again. There is, you could throw as much money as you want, you know, at these things, and have as many excuses as you want, you know, like about like how, you know, we haven't got enough money for furlough, we can't keep furloughing people, and the events industry is non-viable, etc., etc., etc. You can keep throwing that, you know, all you want, but as soon as you open up, like, and let people start socialising again, this industry is absolutely booming. The jobs are there. There's an amazing industry there. All you need to do is open up. So the only thing that can be done, we can only just hope that the scientists get the right drugs that can treat people. Either that, or, you know, like the immunity, you know, like etc. You know, something happens with, you know, like a lot of people getting immunity. But yeah, that's about it. Just needs to open up again.